All right, so let's go over this word problem setup, and then we're just going to use a graphing calculator to solve this. So we are given some information here. We have an open top box. So I'm going to go ahead. You should always draw a picture if it makes sense to draw a picture. So I am going to draw a picture. I have an open top box. So that means it has 5 sides instead of 6. I know that the volume is 4,500 centimeters cubed. And then I know that the length is twice the width. So I'm going to let the width be x. I'm going to call the length 2x. And then I'm going to call the height h. So start with a picture always, and then label your whatever makes sense to label in the pictures. So in this case, it's length, height, and width. We are minimizing surface area. So if we are trying to maximize the surface area, we'd want it to be the most amount of surface area, but we're minimizing because we want the surface area to be small. We want the least amount of surface area. So let's start with what I know. I know the volume is 4,500. So volume, of course, is length times width times height. So I'm going to set 4,500 equal to my length times my width. Actually, I'm going to go ahead and simplify that. That's 2x squared times h. So that's the information that I'm told. And what I'm trying to do is minimize the surface area. I'll call that SA. I'm trying to minimize that amount. So what is the surface area? Well, in this case, the surface area is, I have the base, which is x times 2x, so 2x squared. That's my base, plus, and then I'm going to say like this side and this side are both going to be 2xh. So that's 2 because I have 2 of them. And then it's going to be length times width. So 2x times h. Okay. Then I have another 2 side lengths. So that's going to be like, not side lengths, I'm sorry, sides of the box. So that's going to be like the front and back of the box. So there are 2 of them that are the same size. So I'm just going to say 2 times, and then those areas are going to be xh. So again, I have 5 side lengths. I keep saying side lengths. I have 5 sides of the box. So I have the base, and then I have 2 of the left and the right side, and I have 2 of the front and back. So how do I combine both of these equations? Well, I still want to solve for surface area because that's what I'm trying to minimize. But I notice I have too many variables. I have x's and h. But I have this other equation here with x's and h as well. So I'm going to solve for one of the variable and always pick the variable that is easiest to solve for. So in this case, h is the easiest thing to solve for. It's 4,500 over 2x squared. So you can simplify that, but because I'm being lazy right now, I'm not going to. So that's 2 times 2x, and then instead of h, that's 4,500 over 2x squared. And then same thing with my second expression. I have 2 times x times, and then instead of h, I can say that's 4,500 over 2x squared. Because now I have only one independent variable. Sorry about that. I have one independent variable, it's x, so that makes it possible to graph because you can only have one input and one output to graph this function. Like even if I tried to use Desmos, if I just entered x's and h, it would have no idea what to do with that information. So I only want one independent variable. And now I am going to simplify. So that's 2x squared plus, and then I can simplify the 2x and the 2x squared. So that's going to be 2 times 4,500. So that's 9,000 over x plus, and then same thing here, I can just divide those 2 out and get 4,500 over x. And then, and I always simplify as much as I can before plugging it into a graphing calculator. 13,500 over x. Okay, so now what you're going to do is you are going to take this expression, and I'm not going to do this for you. I want you to practice doing it yourself. You're going to take this expression, and instead of surface area, it's going to be kind of like your y. And you're going to plug this into your graphing calculator, and I want you to find the minimum. We're going to find the minimum. Okay, so you're going to graph it, and if you only have from 10 to 10, you're not going to see your graph at all. So what you need to do is you need to zoom out as much as you need to until you get to something. It'll probably be like, it might even be, actually, because our volume is 4,500, that means that these are going to be very large numbers. So it might have to be like 100 in the x direction and then like 1,000 or even like 5,000 in the y direction. You're going to have to mess with your window settings. You don't need any of these quadrants because we're not going to have any negative values, right? That doesn't make any sense with the volume or surface area of a box. Or dimensions of a box. So ignore the negatives. Go ahead and just graph from like 0 to 100 in X and 0 to 5,000 in Y maybe. But you're going to have to zoom out and mess with your own window settings and do that until you'll see where there's going to be a change in the function. There's going to be like a minimum here. And then you need to find the minimum depending on your calculator. For most of you, you're going to press the second button and then calc and then minimum. And then it'll say like, go to the left of it. And then you'll go to the left of it, press enter. Then it'll say, go to the right of it. And you'll go to the right of it and press enter. And then it'll say guess. And when it says guess, you want to get your cursor really close to the minimum. It's not going to be exact, but you're going to get your cursor close to it. And then after you press guess, press enter, and then it will give you the minimum. So this should be a review from Algebra 2. You should have learned to use your calculator, but just as a review, for most of you, if you have a TI 83 or an 84, press the second button and then calc, find minimum, press enter. It'll say left bound, so go to the left of the minimum, press enter. Then it'll say right bound, go to the right of the minimum, press enter. And then it will say guess. And then at that point, you want to get your cursor as close to the minimum as possible and then press enter. And then once you press enter for the third time, it will give you the actual minimum. And it should give you a nice X value. So if you get a decimal, you got it wrong. In this particular case, the X value is a nice number. So practice using your calculators. And if you have any questions, ask me tomorrow in class or during access, and I can help you a little bit with your calculator.